Welcome back. I am DM Ramos, and in my last video, I introduced the idea of AI DMing. And today, I want to show you my workflow on how I accomplish that. I use Claude, ChatGPT, and Obsidian in order to create a foundation of my lore. It pulls from my actual setting of Solare, which I call my Bible. And it creates that particular steering wheel of what I wanted to do, and it keeps everything in track within my world and doesn't drift away from the established history and lore and what other pillars of information that I have. And in my mind, it's because AI should be more of a tool that we use and helps us to make it more efficient when we need to come up with ideas and add to the history of our world. And once it's done that, I'll finally show you how I pull it into Obsidian in order to finally solidify it into the actual canon of your world. So let's begin. All right. Now we're getting into the foundation. Before I generate anything with AI, factions, NPCs, kingdoms, or even conflicts, I start here. If you ever use AI for D&D and watch your setting kind of drift into contradictions, maybe some different random tone shifts, or even lore that doesn't even fit, let's say like your gods or maybe your region, people's rumors. Well, it's not really AI. It's the lack of that foundation. So you don't really need 455 pages. This is something that I've been working on for years and published as my ultimate setting. You could use anything from maybe 10 pages up to 20 pages. You just need something that has the lore of your world. Before I touch Claude, before I even open ChatGPT or build anything in Obsidian, I define the rules of the world, the pantheon, the cultural pillars, the political tensions, the thematic boundaries with this Bible. It becomes the anchor, and it's also what prevents the drift. Claude doesn't get to decide what Solare is. I'm giving it what it already is. And when I ask for factions in, like, let's say, Princestria or Prolaria, they have to align with either the gods, the beliefs and ideologies of the people there. Even when I generate religious movements, they have to fit the theology. When I build power structures, they have to respect the tone of the setting. If you don't start here, AI will absolutely build you a cool world. It just won't be yours. So this is step one in the foundation. The top level of this Bible, I outline the pillars of the setting, which for me would be the introduction, divine influence and theological conflict, thematic depth, the history of the Cataclysm, the Black Cloak Guilds, unique factions and cultures, custom mechanics, and unique magic systems and rituals. This is, how would I say it, the lens AI reads through. So if it starts drifting, I bring it back to this document. This is the source of truth. So all these pillars are the starting points. And so let me show you what happens when you give AI a real foundation. All right, so for those of you who are only familiar with ChatGPT, this right here is Claude. And for lore work, this is my favorite AI. And the reason being is, you can see, just like ChatGPT, here's where you would type your questions, prompts, and such. You can see all your chats here. But projects is what we're going to be focusing on. So all these are different projects, and once you click into it, you can actually type in and the chats will remain within the projects here. But as you can see, I already have my project files loaded in. This includes the Solare World Bible for this Darklands campaign, specifically surrounding Bosgoth, the Crimson Blade. We can see that Bible that I told you about that had 455 pages is right here. All these other ones from my Obsidian website, I copy and paste in here for this particular campaign. And so all these chats right here involve information that has been taken from these files. And whatever information that I deem is worthy to become actual canon to my world, after I tweak it and work with it and edit it, I can copy and paste it in here. So all these files contain those session transcripts as well, up through session 47. Every alliance, every political shift, every consequence caused by the players and actions that they did. So every time something new happens at the table, I update this project file using the session transcripts. So Claude isn't technically reading a static setting, it's reading a living campaign, and that campaign is also layered on top of the World Bible. So when I need something to reference the world in general that is specifically, let's say, altering any of their paths in the game within that campaign, it'll bring it in because it'll read that lore. So what do I mean by that? Let's go ahead and test this. Currently, the campaign is in Polaria. Now, Polaria could signify any kind of city in your world. Once you have your lore setting, your book, your information, the files, be it your Bible of lore of your world set, and let's say they go to a city, be it whatever name of the city you have. For mine is Polaria. So let's go ahead and test this out. Let's come up with something. What I want to do is try to come up with, using the idea that I saw from a video, Mystic Arts, let's come up with 3 factions and have that information updated, keeping with the current 47 transcripts that I have in the campaign. So let's try this right here. If I made a little list for an idea from what I was watching with the video there. So let's say based on, so we have to make sure, I usually will do this, but make sure you add what you want it to read as well specifically. So based on the Solare PDF. So it's going to point to that Solare PDF within the project files. And then let's say, and the session notes. Let's call them files actually. Through session, let's say 47. Let's see. Give me the top 3 factions in Polaria. And I wrote down this list that they spoke about. So let's say, give me conflict, key characters, ideology, right? Methods of influence, and a narrative twist. twist. Let's say, keep to the lore of my world and project files. So we can make sure to lock it in and it doesn't drift. It might still drift, but it should come pretty close. Let's go ahead and see what happens. Let's run it. Having it work there, thinking. So at this time it's reading, and you can see it's reading the Solare PDF right here. Now, after it does that, because I'm using the Solare PDF as the core, there it is right there. Solare God's main PDF. So it's going to read the complete story arc that I had written. And then it will go through the rest of the files. Alright, so now that it's finished generating, you can see it did exactly what we asked. It followed the structure, core conflict, key characters, the ideology, methods of influence, and of course the narrative twist. And all of this is pulling directly from the Solare World Bible. Let me show you what I mean by that. If we jump back to the Bible, this is the deep lore that I was talking about. This is where Princess Aurora is defined, the Talbin dynasty, the political structure of Polaria. It's basically the broader theological tensions, right? And the broader political tensions as well. It doesn't have to be 455 pages like mine. It just needs to contain the information you care about and want protected, not to drift, basically. Now, when we jump back to Claude's output, you can see it kept the royal Talbin dynasty. And it didn't invent a new monarchy, right? It didn't replace the power structure. It pulled directly from established canon. That's the difference. But I think if we look at the narrative twist, this could become useful. Maybe it didn't have a specific twist, but I for sure didn't have any kind of idea of what I wanted to do. Anything that's especially prepared for Princess Aurora in this moment. But Claude created an existing tension. Well, not created, but it used an existing tension, including the Wizard's Conclave, which exists in the broader world lore, right? And it connected it where it made sense. The Conclave isn't really centered in Polaria, but it exists in the world setting that I showed. And Claude understands that relationship. And this would be the same for the Black Cloak Guild. It's not centered in Polaria either, but it's a global organization in my setting. So it's logical that its influence might appear here. This is what I mean by constrained creativity, right? It's not inventing something that's disconnected. It's pulling from established systems and organizing them into usable material here. Now, and it's important that you don't accept it blindly, of course. You don't want to, just put it into your canon if you are making a Bible that's specifically meant to solidify your lore and history. So what I do, I read through it, I tweak it, and I also refine it. I will go in there and change anything that feels slightly off. And the thing is, I'm not rewriting from scratch, and that's, I think, makes it more efficient. And once I've edited it, that's when it moves into Obsidian. And Obsidian is my source of truth, right? It's the one that really solidifies everything and pulls that information, or I can pull it into Claude or ChatGPT when I need to really create something else or get ideas. So we can see Obsidian right here. And so everything in here has already been reviewed, edited, and approved by me. That's what makes it Canon. So that's the workflow. Claude helps generate and structure, and I review and refine it, and then it goes into Obsidian to solidify it, is the workflow, right? If I need mechanical tweaks or fast iterations, I can copy this now into ChatGPT. So North Angoria, let's say Princistria. And let's say the High Commander, if I needed to tweak him, I would copy and then paste it into ChatGPT in order to ask it a question. So in a way, you can think of it, Claude handles the macro lore, and then ChatGPT handles the micro refinement of it, right? And Obsidian is where it becomes official, and that's the system. Now we're moving into Obsidian. If you're not familiar with Obsidian, this is where my Canon lives. They call these vaults. Think of it like a private wiki that you fully control. And I store mine in Dropbox. So it syncs with all of my devices, be it desktop, laptop, pretty much anything. And then everything stays synchronized automatically. And you can also publish directly to a website. I use Obsidian Obsidian published for my public facing material, and I've connected it to my domain. But you don't have to pay for that. There are free ways to host and structure the lore as well. I just chose to use that one particularly for now when I first got it, but there's tons of materials on Obsidian out there in order to walk you through the steps to do that. But you can see how the structure mirrors what I have on my desktop, which this is what is on my desktop. And then if I open this on my laptop, it'll be the same, exact same. The website follows that structure. My character here, Amara, and my character here, Amara. So if I change this word or whatever in here that I change, and then click this, and it'll say changes 1 out of 0 or whatever here. I click publish, and it'll update it to the website and change it, which we're going to see that here in a little while. But you can see pretty much regions, factions, characters, campaign notes, DM only material. Now this, some of it I might publish, other ones I keep on my computer. So some of this is in orange as well, like these right here are actual links. And if I click it, it opens into another page, just like a wiki. And that's how the world stays interconnected. And you can actually see that interconnection here and how all these are linked to everything else, like King David Firebrand. And you can see Princistria here. We click into Princistria. But you can see how it links to the other circles the goddess Persephone. You can see visually. So after I generate something in Claude and read through it, I don't just copy paste blindly. I refine it and tweak it, and then I bring it in here. Ideally, what I do in Claude, in order to actually tweak it, if you want to still work on it in Claude, I use a .md file, a markdown file, because Obsidian runs on markdown structure. And that's what keeps the headings, links, and tags. So what do I mean by that? Let's say you wanted to put this in a .md file. I made a prompt that said put this info in a .mt so we can edit. So once you do that, it will create this file that you can download. I usually just copy, but it'll be on the side here. And let's say that for this narrative twist, Princess Aurora was captured and tortured. Let's see. If we wanted to just change this right here, usually it knows what you're talking about. You can go say, for the narrative twist, just for show, twist in the Talbin. Let's say don't focus the tension, her and her brother. So let's see what happens there. Let's say you didn't want to focus on that. Focus more on political of the city. Political. Don't mind my spelling. Can't spell today, I guess. But let's see what it does. So remember this. So now it goes into the actual guild and political tensions that I have in Polaria. And not necessarily just with the brother, which it is a big thing with the brother, but not, on this one, it might not even, maybe your group is not even going to deal with that. Maybe it's more about the political stuff that's happening in the, basically in the campaign, dealing with more of the city level political structure, not the royal political structure. So that's an example. And I look at that, I would probably also bring it into Word and maybe tweak a few things and maybe jump it back in here and go back and forth. But if I can get all the edits done in Claude, what happens next, if I'm happy with it, I will copy it from here. Once that is copied, I could put it into the actual city, since I do have South Angoria, and I usually put them. So let's go ahead and do that. So the city. So let's go ahead and jump back. Now that we have it copied from Claude, I clicked that little button there. So let's go ahead and with this one, you can actually close everything off. Usually works for me. Get into the NPCs. It's in my content at South Angoria and then Polaria. And then we're going to go into the city. I'm going to create a new note. I'm going to just paste it. Top 3 factions in Polaria. All right, I'm going to actually copy this right here. Cut it, and that's going to be the title of it. And I don't need this. There's a lot of information on why you would do certain things here, but like I said, I'm just trying to keep it pretty general of my workflow. So once you have this copied in here, right? It pops up in here, but it's not up on the website yet. And this is where this comes in. Publish changes. So now let's take a look at it. So once I click it, I have all these that are new, right? So we pasted one in the folder of Polaria City. So there it is right there. You can just check mark this especially if you have multiple things that you've changed in an hour or so, in a couple hours. Or you can go in there and individually click them yourself. And it doesn't show changes because we haven't done any changes, but let's go ahead and now publish this. And now click done. And we're going to jump back over to the website. And at the website level, we're going to go into these NPCs, and it shouldn't be there because I haven't refreshed it yet, but Polaria City. So you see we don't have the file yet, but let's go ahead and refresh now. And it usually happens pretty quickly. So now we have Polaria, we go into the city, and now there it is, the top 3 factions. And I haven't added any links yet. The links is a kind of a longer process. It takes a little bit while longer, multiple ways to do it. But normally I would have Princess Aurora linked to Princess Aurora here. And then you can click on it and go there. But for now, that's how I would solidify the canon. Once I edit it, everything is up to par. There is the article now for players to go in there, and if they do something that I need to give them for their investigation, I have them, okay, go in here and read that. And then if I need notes, I can go in here and also read it. And then I can click on these links that I create in order to help me keep track. Because once you have a large Bible like I do of lore, it's very hard to memorize every NPC and character and stuff, especially if you're running multiple campaigns. And let's say, for instance, a quick one. Let's say Royal Talbin Dynasty. I'm going to put let's put a 1 so you can understand what I'm talking about. So there's a 1 on that title now. And then I'm going to go here, and now it's going to pop up in the changed. Okay, so now it's changed. I'm going to go ahead and click on that, see what's changed. So it went all the way to the top 3 factions. Let's go ahead and publish that. Once it's published, you're going to go back to the website, refresh it, and there's the 1. And now it becomes canon. Oh, we can remove the 1. So that's the workflow. And that's how it helps me to keep everything on track. Of course, the next step would be if you needed to bring it into ChatGPT. Now you can either copy paste from here or the website, and then go into ChatGPT and refine something else that you need. And then once you change that, you can just copy paste over whatever section that's in Obsidian, and then do what I did, just update, publish any changes, and it'll update it on the website. And that is my process, at least part of it. Of course, for anybody that's interested in Obsidian, I will put some links out there for you guys to click into it, maybe learn about it, and of course Claude and ChatGPT. But that is it, the process. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments or questions or anything that you would like to learn more about this process, feel free to drop a comment. Actually, you know what? I think I might actually work on progress clocks next in order to show people how I make a living progress clock for my world, and all the clocks update compared to the session notes. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.